Hello, and welcome to Desert Frontier Studios, a small startup concept I have for a studio to develop video games set in my fictional desert world, inspired by Arizona and the American Southwest. Most of what you see here is AI-generated content, because I have not officially created a proper video game yet, and my computer can't handle Unreal Engine. So until I can get a better computer, my concepts are going to be AI-generated, just to show you what I want to design. Let me talk a bit about the setting. The setting is a giant planet known as Planet Xeric, a world that consists mostly of desert terrain. However, unlike many fictional desert planets depicted in series like Star Wars or Dune, Xeric is not an endless sea of sand with occasional rock formations in between. Although the planet does have sand dunes, they do not cover the whole planet though. It mostly consists of rocky terrain, rich, and many species of cacti, succulents, and various other species of drought-tolerant vegetation. Forest and green areas exist at higher elevations as well, but even they are not very moist. The planet consists of many sentient species, including talking cats, humans, and other animals. All the games I want to design would be set in this universe, kind of similar to how Oddworld Inhabitants has all their games set in the same universe. Now on to one of my first game ideas. The setting is a suburban home on the desert outskirts of a town inspired by Tucson, Arizona. In the setting, you play as a blue death feigning beetle, which is the type of insect found in the real-life Sonoran and Mojave deserts of the Southwest, and one of 10,000 plus species of insect found in the Sonoran Desert region, which this game would be highly inspired by. The beetle would be the main protagonist of the story, though you would encounter many other insects, arachnids, reptiles, and birds of the desert. And the main form of transportation would be trains. Not full-size trains, but G-scale model trains. Now for a bit of background on where I came up with this concept. First of all, the bug concept. Growing up, there was a game on the old Macs called Bugdom, a game about a blue isopod named Rolly McFly, whose mission is to save the Bugdom from the evil King Thorax, a tyrannical fire ant who seek to overthrow the land and imprison the ladybug inhabitants, which you rescue along the way. The game was fun and reflected heavily on my love of arthropods, which is basically the fancy word for bugs, or a family of small creatures with exoskeletons, which would include insects, arachnids, crustaceans, and myriapods like centipedes and millipedes. A couple years later, a sequel called Bugdom 2 released, and featured a grasshopper named Skip as the main protagonist, whose mission, while not as cinematic as Rolly's mission, was to get his knapsack back from a bee that stole it. To get his knapsack back, he has to navigate in and around a house, once again fighting various enemies, such as flies, fleas, roaches, and even some playroom toys. At the end of the game, Skip succeeds with the help of Sam the snail and a chipmunk, and getting his knapsack back and continuing his journey. The story was kind of mediocre in my honest opinion, as it's not as good of a story as fighting an evil tyrant who seeks to overthrow a kingdom, but the gameplay and the setting was very fun to play in. Another game that came out several years later also added some inspiration to this concept. A game on the Wii called Deadly Creatures. This game is a far cry from the innocent Bugdom series, as the plot is more mature and graphic. You play as a scorpion and a tarantula in the setting of the Sonoran Desert, where two treasure hunters are searching for gold buried in the desert sand. Along the way, you fight tarantula hawks, which in real life is a tarantula's worst nightmare, rattlesnakes, Gila monsters, and you also play as a scorpion, both of which navigate old rusted pipes, underground burrows, and desert canyons. Towards the end of the game, one of the treasure hunters backstabbed his friend by hitting him in the back of the head with a shovel before he captures the tarantula, who later escapes and gets in a fight with his captive, who later ends up in the hospital. I know that sounds far-fetched, but then again in a story, I guess anything is possible. The moral of the story in Deadly Creatures is the deadliest creature of all is not a scorpion or a tarantula, or even a rattlesnake, but humans themselves. Anyways, onto my second inspiration, model railroading, specifically garden railroading. Garden railroading is a form of model railroading outdoors. It can be in someone's backyard, front yard, or even in a public space. The preferred scale of trains is G scale, which is what the trains in the game would be inspired by, as I am also a fan of trains. The idea is an arid desert setting. Desert, inspired by the American Southwest, and the point of view is from a beetle in a miniature world where bugs travel by G-scale train across what are considered vast distances to them. The idea is you would be able to ride the train or fast travel to your next destination. I haven't thought of a name for the main protagonist, but I do have a bit of a story. The story is an army of tarantula hawks want to take over the Garden Railroad and use it as their own, all while enslaving the other bugs to do their dirty work. A concept similar to King Thorax, who wanted to overthrow bugdom. Only this time, the king of the tarantula hawks wants to control the railroad that the insects of the desert world rely on. So you battle your way across the various arid landscapes in and around the backyard of the desert home, fighting bugs who have been hired by the tarantula hawks, as well as the tarantula hawks themselves. Think of it as like a western in the bug world. The beetle is the hero, and the tarantula hawk king is a railroad baron with an army of outlaw mercenaries. The beetle would have to dodge bigger animals that would try to eat them as well, such as Gila monsters, birds, and other predators of the wide open desert. One gameplay mechanic could be playing dead, so the predators think that the beetle isn't alive. This is the behavior of the real-life blue feigning death beetle, but obviously for story purposes, he would also be fighting back. Collectibles could be picked up along the way, such as power-ups, health units, something for checkpoints, and much more. Some levels would be set in the yard, which is the main hub of the insect railroad, but there would also be levels out in the open desert, just outside the yard limit. Ghost towns nearby could also be explorable. Underground caves where kangaroo rats live could be explorable, as well as the holes drilled into saguaro cacti by birds, like cactus wrens and Gila woodpeckers. Some of the creatures in the world would be your ally and give you tasks and missions, including possible side quests. Others will be your enemy that you have to fight to stay alive. Some enemies, like the Gila monster, would be indestructible, and you would have to avoid getting too close to it, or I could eat you. Other creatures that are more gigantic, like javelina or coyotes, could be a background feature, although coyotes and javelinas have been known to eat bugs. Chuckwallas and desert iguanas could also be threats, while rattlesnakes, on the other hand, would leave you alone since they don't care for insects and would just mind their own business. Scorpions are another common arthropod of the desert. However, I have not decided whether or not I would make them an enemy to the beetle, seeing as how I have these beetles as pets, literally living with a desert, hairy scorpion who can't hurt the beetles because of the armor they have. As a result, they don't bother each other. Other arthropods, such as millipedes, praying mantises, crickets, cicadas, palo verde beetles, butterflies, antlions, black widow spiders, ants, bees, and even bugs not normally found in deserts like fireflies would all make an appearance. Yes, I said fireflies because even though they are found in more humid environments, I still think a desert-adapted fictional species would be a neat touch to the nighttime cycle. Now adding every species of insect found in the Sonoran Desert would be a real challenge, because there are 10,000 species out there that desert alone. However, I would try to implement as many different species as possible. Some of these creatures would be enemies for gameplay's sake. Others would be harmless and just a background feature. Well, that's all the time I have for this episode. Let me know in the comments if you have a good title for the name of my planned first game, or a name for the main protagonist. Be sure to hit and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching.